Good morning, students. Today we are going to learn the chapter Plant Nutrition, and today's topic is biological role of water. Biological roles of water. Why is water necessary for life? Water makes up to 60 to 75% of human body weight. A loss of just 4% of total body water leads to dehydration, and a loss of 15% can be fatal. Likewise, a person could survive a month without food, but wouldn't survive 3 days without water. This crucial dependence of water broadly governs all life forms. Clearly, water is vital for survival, but what makes it so necessary? The molecular makeup of water. Many of water's role in supporting life are due to its molecular structure and a few special properties. Water is a simple molecule composed of two small positively charged hydrogen atoms and one large negatively charged oxygen atom. When the hydrogens bind to the oxygen, it creates an asymmetrical molecule with positively charged on one side and negatively charged on the other side. See, two positively charged hydrogen molecules combine with negatively charged oxygen molecules. Now, this side having the positively charged hydrogen molecules and this side having the negatively charged oxygen molecules. This charge differential is called polarity and dictates how water interacts with other molecules. See, the water is interacting with each other. Water molecules are made of two hydrogens and one oxygen. These atoms are of different sizes. Hydrogens are smaller than oxygen. And charges. Hydrogen molecules are positively charged, oxygen is negatively charged, which creates the asymmetry in the molecular structure and leads to strong bonds between water and other polar molecules, including water itself. Water is the universal solvent. As a polar molecule, water interacts best with other polar molecules such as itself. This is because of the phenomenon wherein opposite charges attract one another, because each individual water molecule has both a negative portion and a positive portion. Each side is attracted to molecules of the opposite charge. This attraction allows water to form relatively strong connections called bonds with other polar molecules around it, including other water molecules. In this case, the positive hydrogen of one water molecules will bond with the negative oxygen of the adjacent molecule, whose own hydrogens are attracted to the next oxygen, and so on Importantly, this bonding makes water molecules sticks together in a property called cohesion. The cohesion of water molecules helps plants make up water at their roots. Cohesion also contributes to water's high boiling points, which helps animals regulate body temperatures. Furthermore, since most biological molecules have some electrical asymmetry, they too are polar and water molecules can form bonds with and surround both their positive and negative region. In the act of surrounding the polar molecules of another substances, water wriggle its way into all the nooks and crannies between molecules, effectively breaking it apart or dissolving it. This is what happens when you put sugar crystals into water. Both water and sugar are polar, allowing individual water molecules to surround individual sugar molecules, breaking apart the sugar and dissolve it. Similar to polarity, some molecules are made of ions or oppositely charged particles. Water breaks apart these ionic molecules as well by interacting with both the positively and negatively charged particles. This is what happens when you put salts in water, because salt is composed of sodium and chloride ions. Water's extensive capability to dissolve a variety of molecules has earned it the designation of universal solvent, and it is this ability that makes water such an invaluable life sustaining force. On a biological level, water's role as a solvent helps cells transport and use substances like oxygen or nutrients. Water-based solutions like blood helps carry molecules to the necessary locations. Thus, water's role as a solvent facilitates the transport of molecules like oxygen for respiration and has a major impact of the ability of drugs to reach their targets in the body. Water supports cellular structure. Water also has an important structural role in biology. Visually, water fills cells to help maintain shape and structure. The water inside many cells, including those that make up the human body, creates pressure that opposes external forces, similar to putting air in a balloon. However, even some plants, which can maintain their cell structure without water, still require water to survive. Water allows everything inside cell to have the right shape at the molecular level, as shape is critical for biochemical processes. This is also one of water's most important roles. See in this figure, this is the hydrated cells, and in this figure, the cell is dehydrated. In hydrated cells, water is fully filled by the cells, and the water creates the pressure inside the cell towards the outside. Water impacts cell shapes. Water creates pressure inside the cell that helps it maintain shapes. In the hydrated cells, the water pushes outward and the cell maintains a round shapes. The inside water creates the pressure towards the outside, so the cell is maintaining its shape, its circular shape. In the dehydrated cell, there is less water pushing outward, so the cell becomes wrinkled. There is less water content in the cell, so the inner side water pressure is very less. The water is not pushing the cell towards the outside, so the cell is not maintaining the rounded or circular shape. Water also contributes to the formation of membranes surrounding cells. Every cell on earth is surrounded by a membrane, most of which are formed by two layers of molecules called phospholipids. The phospholipids, like water, have two distinct components, a polar head and a non-polar tail. Due to this, the polar head interact with water while the non-polar tails try to avoid water and interact with each other instead. Seeking these favorable interactions, phospholipids spontaneously form bilayers with the heads facing outwards towards the surrounding water and the tails facing inward, excluding water. The bilayer surround cells and selectively allows substances like salts and nutrients to enter and exit the cell. The interactions involved in forming the membrane are strong enough that the membranes form spontaneously and aren't easily disrupted. See, this is the polar side, this is the tail side, non-polar side, phospholipid molecules. This is hydrophobic uncharged molecules. This is phospholipids bilayers. This is one layer, this is the second layer of phospholipids. Phospholipids forms bilayers surrounded by water. Water molecules is surrounded with the head side and both tail sides are inner sides. The polar heads are faced outwards to interact with water. See, it is interacting with water, both sides. And the hydrophobic tails face inward to avoid interacting with water. This is. Without water, cell membranes would lack structure, and without proper membrane structure, cell would be unable to keep important molecules inside the cell and harmful molecules outside the cell. In addition to influencing the overall shape of cells, water also impacts some fundamental component of every cell. DNA and proteins. Proteins are produced as a long chain of building blocks called amino acids and needed to fold into a specific shape to function correctly. Water drives the folding of amino acid chain as different types of amino acids seek and avoid interacting with water. Proteins provide structures, receive signals and catalyze chemical reaction in the cell. In this way, proteins are the workhorses of cells. Ultimately, proteins drive contraction of muscles, communications, digestion of nutrients, and many other vital functions. Without the proper shape, proteins would be unable to perform these functions and a cell could not survive. Similarly, DNA needs to be in a specific step for its instructions to be properly decoded. Proteins that read or copy DNA can only bind DNA that has a particular step. Water molecule surrounds DNA in an ordered fashion to support its characteristics double helix conformation. Without this shape, cell would be unable to follow the careful instructions uncoded by DNA or to pass the instruction on to future cells, making human growth, reproduction, and ultimately survival infeasible. Chemical reactions of water. Water is directly involved in many chemical reactions to build and break down important component of the cell. Photosynthesis, the process in plants that creates sugar for all life forms, requires water. Water also participates in building larger molecules in cells. Molecules like DNA and proteins are made of repetitive unit of smaller molecules. Putting these small molecules together occurs through a reaction that produces water. Conversely, water is required for the reverse reaction that break down these molecules, allowing cells to obtain nutrients or purpose pieces of big molecules. Additionally, water buffers cells from the dangerous effects of acids and bases. Highly acidic or basic substances like bleach or hydrochloric acid are corrosive to even the most durable materials. This is because acids and bases release excess hydrogens or take up excess hydrogens respectively from the surrounding materials. Losing or gaining positively charged hydrogens disrupt the structure of molecules. As we have learned, proteins require a specific structure to function properly, so it's important to protect them from acids and bases. Water does this by acting as both an acid and a base. Also, the chemical bonds within water molecules are very stable. It's possible for water molecules to give up hydrogen and become OH, thus acting as base, or accept another hydrogen and become H3O, thus acting as an acid. See, chlorine having one hydrogen bond, water having two hydrogen bonds. The hydrogen bonds are attracting towards the water molecules from chlorine. That means accepting and donating. Here is hydrogen molecules are accepted, and in this case the hydrogen molecules of water is donating towards the chlorine. Water acts as a buffer by releasing or accepting hydrogen atoms. Here accepting the hydrogen molecules of water, and here donating the hydrogen molecules. This adaptability allows water to combat drastic changes of pH due to acidic or basic substances in the body in a process called buffering. Ultimately, this protects proteins and other molecules in the cell. In conclusion, water is vital for all life. Its versatility and adaptability helps perform important chemical reactions. Its simple molecular structure helps maintain important shapes for cells, inner components and outer membrane. No other molecule matches water when it comes to unique properties that supports life. Excitingly, researchers continue to establish new properties of water, such as additional effects of its asymmetrical structure. Scientists have yet to determine the physiological impacts of these properties. It's amazing how a simple molecule is universally important for organisms with diverse needs.